Dear listeners, if you feel lost with English, its grammar or vocabulary, I'm here to help you. The After-Class Report is a collection of recordings that will explain to you the most important aspects of the language. All episodes are content-related. The inspiration comes from you, from our class. With the After-Class Report, you will get answers to all the questions you want to ask. We all make mistakes. It is a natural thing whenever we study something, whenever we learn a foreign language, when we learn English. And this is absolutely impossible to go through this path, the path of studying a language, without this process. I mean, without the process of making mistakes, learning through these mistakes, learning the lesson, and then trying to avoid them in the future. Many students are paralyzed because of mistakes, and this is a bad thing. I mean, you will never study a language, you will never study English if you don't make these mistakes. So you shouldn't be afraid of them. But on the other hand, what we try to do, what we want to do, is we want to eliminate them as much as possible, because our brain works the following way, that if we hear something, if we hear a mistake, we will remember that. So in a class, in a good class of English, you should, the teacher, not the student, but the teacher should avoid showing mistakes. Making is a natural thing, but showing in a way that sometimes there are exercises that are constructed this way, that you see the incorrect sentences and your job is to choose the right one. It was some time ago, it was a typical exercise in a certificate of English in the exam, where you were proving that you know the language at a given level. So that was the first certificate in English, an advanced certificate in English. But after some time, the organizers, the authors of these examinations, they decided to give that up. They decided not to show this exercise anymore because it causes trouble, causes confusion. And I believe it very much. I think it was a good idea. It happened many years ago, I think 10, 15 years ago. So those of you who are studying the language right now, I guess they never come across these exercises where you have to choose the correct version. Students will get confused, as I said before, because when you are in the process of studying something, the knowledge sometimes is it needs really strong foundations, and sometimes it does not have these strong foundations because you are learning, you are at the beginning of this path. But still today, I would like to talk to you about the most common mistakes at the B2 level in English. It is absolutely impossible to present the whole list. I think I could be talking to you for hours presenting all these mistakes. That's why I decided to choose the 15 most common mistakes at the B2 level. But mind you, referring to the introduction I have just made, I'm not going to present mistakes to you in a sense that you will listen to incorrect sentences, but I am going to talk about the words and talk about structures in the correct form. So I believe that the best way, the best thing to do is to study the correct forms. And if you study the correct one, you will forget about the mistake. You will never actually even notice that there was a mistake. So as I said, there are the 15 examples. Many of them are verbs that are used incorrectly, or prepositions. And because there are these pairs of two, I will try to present to you two sentences. In both sentences, the expressions will be used correctly. And in this way, you will find it easy, I hope, to learn the word. So I'm going to start with number one, and number one would be lend and borrow. When you translate these two words into Polish, you actually have the same translation. But in English, we have two directions. I mean, we borrow something from somebody and we lend something to somebody. Oftentimes, you mistake the two. I mean, you either just use borrow for both situations, or you use the words incorrectly. Let me repeat that once again. You borrow something from somebody, like you want to take a bike for an hour or two, for a day, for a holiday, but then you promise to give it back to somebody, or you want to borrow a car. It happens oftentimes that you want to borrow somebody's car because your car is broken, because you want to drive somewhere. teenagers, young people, young adults oftentimes borrow their cars from their parents, but then, of course, they have to promise to give this car back in one piece at the end of the day, for instance. What we also do is we borrow money. We borrow money from a bank, for instance. We borrow money from a bank at an interest. So, of course, when we get the money later on, we have to pay for it. I mean, we have to pay the interest rates. Coming back to the word lend, this is the opposite situation. You can have something and you want to share it with somebody. So you can lend this car to somebody, you can lend your phone to your friend, you can lend your car to your son or daughter, for instance. Pair number two is say and tell. Again, when we translate that into Polish, we have a similar translation. So these verbs denote the moment of the act of speaking. But mind you, speak is used in another context, so you speak a language. But you say something and you tell somebody something. This tell needs the object, it needs the person, it needs it requires from the speaker to say who you are talking to. So whatever you want to say, even if this is like general piece of information, you always have to say that somebody told you, or that you want to tell your mom, or that you want to tell something, that you want to tell your friend something. There always has to be this person. Tell us, tell the people, like the president told the people to stay calm in times of crisis, for instance. With say this, it is this general comment. In say, you don't have to say who you are talking to. All you can do is just like, she said, and then you go with the information. Yes, she said she was happy. She said she wanted to visit us. Mind you, with say and tell, if you want to present the words of another person, you have to remember that there is the indirect speech, right? So we have to remember about the tense switch. Yes, we have to move backwards with one tense. But this is this extra piece of information. This is not the point here. Right now, we are concentrating on say and tell. Pair number three. Pair number three is since and for, or for and since. I think it's better to say for and since. It's easier to remember. These two words are connected directly with present perfect. So you can say that you have been living somewhere, you have been working somewhere, you have had something for 5 years, or since 2016, for instance. So since, go for the time in the past, for this one moment, the year, the day, the month, the hour. For is used for the sentences where when you talk about something that takes a long time and you say for how long, for how much time. In Polish, again, that could be trouble because when you translate that into Polish, you can have the same translation. But in English, there is this vivid difference. Let me repeat that once again. I have been working in this company since 2015. And I have been living in this apartment for 5 years. This is how you use it correctly. And these two words, they should ring a bell. They should immediately be remembered with you with the present perfect expression. Another pair is pair number 4, and this is here. Well, actually, when I say here, I mean 2 words. So the mistake that we can make here is not connected with grammar, but it is connected with the proper spelling, because in here we have 2 words that can be pronounced in the same way, but they mean 2 different things. One of these words is spelled H-E-R-E, and another one is spelled H-E-A-R. The first one here means that something is close to you, that you are looking at something that is in front of you, that is here, that you can take, that is at your hand. The other here refers to this act of hearing. Yes, we can hear. We have this ability of hearing people and words and songs and music. Mind you, I will add this extra comment here that with the word hear as this act of hearing, this word is oftentimes problematic because you don't know how to use properly the word hear and listen to. So hear is something that you do subconsciously. It is something you don't control, and we are born with this ability, with this sense. We have the sense of hearing, but listen to. The expression "listen to" refers to this act of controlling something. We control what we are listening to. I hope that right now you are listening to this recording with interest, but this is your decision. You can listen to the podcast, you can listen to a song, you can listen to any other recording. So once again, we have two words, hear and hear. They mean two different things, but they are pronounced in the same way. The spelling is different. And oftentimes you confuse the word hear as the sense of hearing with listen to. So hear is something you don't control, and listen to is something you control. And as we are talking about this word, this verb connected with senses, I would like to compare see and look at, because the difference between the two is exactly the same. When you see something, I mean, you have this act, you have this ability, you have this sense of seeing something without your control. So we are born with the sense of seeing, with this vision, and we are born with the sense of hearing. But what we control is that we look at somebody or look at something. Yes, if we don't want to look at something, we can turn our head. When we see something, it is something we don't control. So we just open our eyes and we see it. Just to give you the example, when you are looking out of the window, so look out of the window, another expression with the word look, you can look at, I don't know, some interesting person outside or a beautiful car, or you can look at the landscape that is outside, but you actually see everything. So even if you are directing your eyesight at one thing and you are looking at a car, for instance, you can also see everything that is around it. So you can see trees, you can see grass, you can see people, you can see the sun if it is shining. Pair number 5 is lose and loose. And unlike the pair number 4, where there was no difference in pronunciation, but there was difference in spelling, here we have the difference. There is a difference in pronunciation and the difference in spelling. So the one pronounced with Z, like lose, it is spelled L-O-S-E. And the one pronounced with S, it is spelled L-O-O-S-E. Let me repeat it again. Lose versus lose. The meaning is completely different, and these two words are easily confused. They get mistaken very often because with the word lose, well, the context for the word lose is that you can lose money, you can lose weight. If you lose weight, you become thinner. If you lose money, it means that you maybe invested it in a way that wasn't very reasonable, or that somebody took the money from you without your knowledge. And the word lose is connected only with, I mean, it is not connected only with clothes, but the best context for the word is the clothes. So you can talk about the clothes that are not very tight, because the opposite of the word loose is tight. And the synonym of the word loose is baggy. So if you there are people who prefer different types of clothing, basically. So one type of cloth is one type of clothing is that these clothes are very tight around your body, and another type is that there is some space between the clothes and the body. So they are loose or they are baggy. For instance, I wonder which clothes you like, which are your preference. Point 6. I'm controlling the numbers just to put everything in order and also to give you some sense of control about what is going on. 6. 6 is who and which. As you translate the words, very often they have the same translation, and very often you use these words incorrectly, because who is the word used for people, and which is used for animals and things. And this is a key thing you have to remember. There is no possibility to mix the two. You mix it oftentimes. So this is the person who I like, and this is the book which I like. And that's all actually you have to remember. Modal verbs. I have actually prepared 2 points with modal verbs, and that will be point 11 and point 7. I can put them together, mix them for you, and present them as 1 point. Because there is this difference depending on the context. If you want to talk about the models in the present, if you want to talk about, speculate or describe the present activities, you would use just the model. So you should learn, you should go, I may come with you, I can help you. And if you want to refer to the past, always you have to use the past infinitive of the verb. So it has to be should have. And this pair, like should have, is something you should remember, because then you will not make mistakes. So I should have studied English when I was at school. I should have told you the truth, but I didn't. You could have called me, but you didn't. She can't have done it on her own. I mean, it's absolutely impossible that she did that on her own. And I will very quickly right now refer to point 11. And point 11, I made the note. The notes are prepared after the classes, so the most common mistakes I can hear when I talk to you. And point 11 is that you very often you put to after the modal verb. And modal verbs are this example of a verb pattern in which you don't put the to, like the to infinitive, the to word. And I know that the most common verb patterns that you study, it is either that you put the infinitive with to or the gerund form, but you have to remember that there is also this group without to, and modals are an example of this group. So you go, I may help you, and of course it refers both to the present and the past. Yes, when I was a little boy, a little girl, I could ride a bike. Or when I was a little boy, of course, boys can say it too. When I was a little boy, I could ride a bike. There is no to. The only structure where you use to would be ought to. This is an exception, and ought to is a synonym of should. So you ought to study a lot, otherwise you will fail your examination, or you should study a lot, otherwise you will fail your examination. And another situation where you use to is the model-like expression, and it is have to or has to. I have to study, I have to work, I have to tell you something. And this to is there. But these are the exceptions. On the whole, models go without to. Point 8. Point 8 is fewer and less, and it refers to countable and uncountable nouns. I use the comparative form here, yes, because the basic form is few and little. So maybe I will start just with the basic form. So few goes for the countable words, few books, few or a few, depending on the context, a few dishes on the table, a few friends, and little goes for the uncountable. So little time, little money, little involvement, to give you the abstract expression. And then if you turn it into the comparative form, you will have fewer and less. So there were fewer people at the event this year than last year. I read fewer books this year than last year. With less, you would say that this week I have less time for you, or I have less time for my hobbies, or there is less traffic. Common mistake. Traffic is uncountable, so there is less traffic. It's great. We can travel without traffic jams today. Number 9 and number 10. And again, I hope you are following. Number 9 and number 10, they actually go together because they are kind of synonymous expressions, but the expressions that cause trouble, and I want to talk about them as one piece, so to say, because I hope that if you make this reference and associations, it'll get easier for you to remember that. So talking about the word influence. Influence is commonly used. I don't think we need to translate that. And influence is both a verb and a noun, but mind you, if you use either a verb or a noun, you need to know that they are used in a different way. So if you use the word influence as a noun, you put influence on. Yeah, so there is great influence of parents on their children, or there is this great influence of the political situation on the market. But if you use influence as a verb, there is no on. And here, oftentimes, you forget about that. So my parents influenced me in a great way. The whole situation influenced my mood. The whole story influenced the way I feel, and it influenced my decisions. So once again, remember, influence as a noun is followed by on, and influence as a verb is followed by nothing. You use it in the sentence without on. And then, as I said, I am coming back I'm going very quickly to the word affect and effect. Affect spelled with a and effect spelled with e. They can be used as synonyms to the word influence. Effect is the noun, and it can be a synonym to influence. So you can say that something has this great effect or had a great effect on something else. So the whole situation had a great effect on my family because it changed my family. The word affect, on the other hand, is a verb, and you can say that the whole situation affected my family, just like the whole situation influenced my family. So here you have a different spelling, A versus E, and it denotes different parts of speech, so a verb and a noun, and because they are different parts of speech, they are used in a different way. Point 11, it was the modals. I have already discussed that. So now I am moving very smoothly to point number 12. And point number 12 is the ing versus the ed, ending of the adjectives or expressions that work as adjectives, participles, to be precise. So you can have an interesting book, but you are interested in reading. So the ed comes back to you, like ed is your feeling. I am interested. I am bored. I am frustrated. I am fascinated. It's all about the feeling. And interesting thing or fascinating or boring, it is your opinion. You can talk about something else, that something else is interesting, the film, the book, the lesson. Or you can say that something is boring, like the meeting, the lesson, the film. Or you can say that the experience that you have just had is fascinating. So ed is a feeling that you have, and ing is the opinion about something else. Point 13 is something I have actually already discussed, but I will add some extra remarks too. So I will come back to the word which. So I contrasted that with who. We had who and which. And here we have which versus with. Completely different words, completely different spelling, completely different pronunciation, completely different usage, which, once again, goes to things and animals. So this is the company in which I work. Or this is the book which is interesting. This is the book which I read. With, you talk about the object. You talk about somebody you are traveling with, or somebody you are performing the project with, or somebody you are walking with. So it's like holding hands. So there's one person and another person, and there is one animal and another animal, like a dog with the cat. They went for a walk. Completely different words. The last two mistakes, I want to describe them really thoroughly and completely from A to Z, from top to bottom for you. But as I said, it is just a tip of an iceberg. It is just the beginning. We can talk about mistakes for hours, but the mistakes should not make you scared. They should not discourage you from starting. But if you know what kind of mistakes you should avoid, you will now know how to do it, and in the future you will not make mistakes, and this is what we want. Children, guys, children is already the plural form. If you want to say that you have one child and that is singular, you will say child one or one kid. With kids is a different story. It's American English, and with kids you go one kid versus two kids. But with children, this is the Latin plural form. It is the irregular plural form. So you go for one child and two children, or you go for one person and two people. Don't add the S to the word peoples, because, mind you, there is a word like that, but it changes the meaning. Peoples means nations. But if you want to talk about not more than one person, you would say people, one person, two people, one child, two children. And the very last point, so we have arrived at the very last point, is the word arrive. Arrive is an exception as the verb. Arrive means to come somewhere. And arrive is followed by exceptional prepositions. You arrive at an office, you arrive at the cinema, you arrive at a shop versus you arrive in the country or in the city. You can arrive in Poland, you can arrive in Warsaw, you can arrive in Paris. No to. Yeah. So actually, I showed you another option. I mean, with the word to, but to works for other words. Yes, you come to, but you arrive at. And I want you to remember that. I hope that altogether, as you put it, you can go through it once again, the 15 points. They will sound in your mind and you will now know how to use them correctly. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. But if you have this opportunity, try to avoid them. And with this recording, I hope you will know the 15 mistakes you can avoid. If you enjoy what you have listened to, please like the episode. You are invited to listen to my other podcast called World of English, in which I'm telling different stories so that you can relax and learn the language.